but inside the mind, viewing from a distance, everything appears fine.
This week on the New to You Show, Success, Part 1, The Secret.
Inside the mind, but inside the mind. He waits with that same lonely look on his face, plus a feeling of disgust, like everything's a waste. He was made to be this and that.
Welcome to the New to You Show. We are a review and discussion podcast where we pick a topic and we talk about various things that people bring to the table based on that topic for as many episodes as we have guests for.
Usually 4.
Yeah. So speaking of guests and hosts, I'm one of your hosts, John Holt. With me,
one of your other hosts, Keith Vincent.
And your other host, Julian Cage. And with us this week,
I'm Jocko Farino.
Our successful special guest.
Yeah, one of our favorite guest hosts, Jocko.
Oh, it's great to be back. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for
Welcome
being
back.
here, buddy.
Jocko, you are rolling in some success. Can we talk about?
Yeah, we can. The last time I was on was around Halloween time, and I'd mentioned that there was a film that I had co-written that was getting some traction, and the script was making moves. We're now, at the time of this recording, about 5 days away from the completion of shooting.
Wow. Sweet.
So
Congratulations, man. That's
it's
really
real.
cool.
I'm really excited. Thank you. Yeah, it's a joint production with the two really great horror production companies. It's going to be incredible.
And it's not a porno.
No.
Not a porno.
That's my follow-up.
Right. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
But yeah, it's we're excited to see it. Do you know when? I mean, the post-production cycle can take a while.
Post-production's going to be close, and then we're
going
to hit the festival circuit pretty hard.
Do you intend to go on the road with it at all?
I would love to,
That's
personally.
cool,
Yeah. And then we, the way that a lot of these movies, these sort of lower, not low budget, but sort of smaller scale movies, especially in the horror genre work, is you make it, you get it into festivals. Everyone loves it because you're brilliant and it's amazing at the festivals, and then at those festivals you strike up distribution deals, and that's the hope with this. It's the Ranger. Keep an eye out.
Sometimes it's a like you go to. It's called a film market, right? It's not always considered a film festival. Sometimes called a market.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
They got a really cool one here in New York. I don't know if it's still around, but it used to be here. I think it's called the TFF Film Market.
Oh, cool.
And so how long since you conceived of the movie until today?
It was my senior thesis in college. So over 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. But seriously, like putting pen to paper, about 2.5 years. The director, Jen Wexler, reached out to me. We were college classmates, and she remembered the script and loved it and wanted to know if I'd be interested in working on it with her as a feature, as her debut. And so, we kind of broke it apart together, put it all back together, started from scratch, pretty much just the core central idea. And we co-wrote the new version together, and that was about 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long ago would you say you visualized it and made it become reality?
Oh, I would say that I made it my reality. It started about 10 years ago. I probably wasn't thinking about it.
That was the problem.
Yeah, as positively as I should have. So,
You weren't making the movie.
No.
But that
You
was
weren't making the movie reality your reality.
But
That's right.
you got to give him a break. It was before he saw The Secret.
That's true.
That's right.
Speaking
So-
of which, isn't that what we're talking about today?
Yeah, and before we get into actually, Keith, we don't do this much. I just wanted to, I kept the theme pretty open. You had suggested the success as sort of like successfully getting other people involved in the stuff, and so I kept it open in how people were doing that. But I think you can interpret on multiple levels, and a lot of everybody's picks hit your original theme as well.
Yeah, my original concept was, hey, let's talk about times that we either were suggested a thing or somebody did suggest, or we suggested something to someone that they really had a positive impact from. But honestly, I mean, everything we talk about on this show pretty much came in that way. So I think it all works. Anytime I know almost all the stuff that I talk about, it's just like, this good friend of mine told me about this thing, and it turns out it was really good. So that's kind of.
Yeah, I don't know if that's particularly the case with my favorite.
So let's roll into your pick.
But it is a success because it's changed my life.
And it's
I'm
been
glad
recommended to a lot of people.
Yes. There was a cultural point in time where the whole culture was recommending it to everyone, I guess. Oprah, at least.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Hear what his father has to say. Pulled up to the stoplight, ready to explode. What played in his head was almost an overload. He heard laughing not far from where he was sitting. Looked out his window and saw kids at play. He wished he had a childhood to remember like that. His was cold and silent, alone in the dark.
Throughout history, all the great minds, all the great leaders, all the great achievers, they had something in common.
It's, I guess, a quote-unquote documentary. It's documentary-like in the format that was made in 2006, but I think it really got like wide release in the States in 2008-ish, maybe? No, right before that. Because I remember when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, that was right before the economy tanked, and a lot of people were probably very disillusioned. It was kind of this Australian producer, Rhonda Byrne. It was really her baby, but it was directed by this guy named Drew Harriott, and it's kind of a self-help film is what I would call it. It's really just promoting The Secret, which isn't really a secret, is...
well, how could it be if they keep making movies about it?
It's essentially like the law of attraction, which is an idea that's been around for a long time, and it's based on... And there were like a bunch of different people at different times in history who've promoted it. But they did an amazing job of packaging it and filling it full of these experts. So it's sort of a slick package, but it's almost like too slick or kind of gaudy also a little bit. And a lot of the interview. So it's interviewed. They interview all these different experts who all talk about the same topic and who were probably given a lot of guidelines because what they say all comes together in a very neat package. And they talk about The Secret, using the words "The Secret," even though, they just made that up for this film or whatever.
Well, it was a book before this.
No, it was actually
really? It was
the
movie
film
first.
Yeah, it was the film, or at the same time, essentially. Right. Like they were kind of, but the film was conceived of first, I think.
So the whole phenomenon was derived from this.
Yeah, I think
some so-called documentary.
Yeah, and they came together. Like they came as I think they were released as a package.
Gotcha.
It was smart marketing because one promoted the other, and really people don't like to read, so I think it's just a better way. So when I thought of success, I thought because it's really like promotes success, and the whole idea of the law of attraction is you imagine success and then it comes to you and
visualize.
Yeah, and you draw it through you, and they even imply that that
all
physics,
energy is the same, and we're all the same, a part of everything in the universe,
and
therefore
and that quantum physics reinforces this notion or agrees with it because like your brain waves have a frequency and they affect the universe because everything's particles and energy and stuff like that. And it has an amazing, I would call it, the whole branding is very Da Vinci Code-esque, where they use this like old parchment. So everyone was shot on green screen, and then they put in these slick backgrounds that look like Leonardo.
Slick for the time.
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci. No, I mean they're slick in that they were like overproduced and gaudy. Yeah. So they all look like Leonardo da Vinci sketches with little animations, and they'll have like custom icons and symbols behind each speaker that sort of reflects what they're about.
No, it's not reflects. It's
or whatever.
It's like unsubtly draws.
It's like, hey, this guy wrote "Chicken Soup for the Soul."
Yeah.
There's a picture of Chicken Soup for the Soul behind it.
and a poorly comped-in bowl that's steaming.
Coming out.
It's like really over the top. And some of them are like really distracting and don't make any sense. Like one guy has like a CG golden key that's like spinning to the right of his face the whole time, and you're like, what?
But see, a lot of that
was
stuff.
Was there a book that he wrote that we should know about
or something? It's like Unlock. He's probably one of those like self-help gurus unlocking your special path.
Hey, maybe. I don't think they had any of those on this documentary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also like
I'm just kidding.
there's
The whole thing are these self-help people.
and all of them are labeled in very deceptive ways. Like they'll
Yeah, and they all have hilarious titles. Like my favorite guy, his title is Visionary.
Visionary. I saw that.
He's my favorite. But there's also like
Well, you know, they were gonna have it be like author of this book, but he just visualized himself being called a visionary.
That's right.
And it just happened.
and many of them are like, authors or speakers or philosophers. There's a lot of philosophers. There's also a couple that are like, they really had to like work at it. And there was one woman who was like a feng shui expert.
yeah. Yeah, there's like a metaphysician and
Yeah, metaphysician. There's another one. Yeah.
and there's a dude-
Unemployed.
But soon to be rich, I'm sure.
open to employment opportunities.
There are some common threads. I noticed there were a lot of fake tans and large open collared shirts revealing chest hair. That
Like
was a
virility.
common theme through a lot of the speakers.
Well, let's get before we move on. Did we cover properly what The Secret is about?
Yeah, the law of
I
attraction.
mean, well,
Yeah, but
I think it's an old idea that the very simplest one is you say smile till you're happy,
Yeah.
fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
It's like it's that reiterated and then given false pillars to maintain it and give it credence, and then applied to all aspects of reality.
Yeah, and the film.
But it's let's face it. In the documentary, it's about achieving and getting things.
Yes,
it's
yeah,
never like picture a perfect world. It's more like picture yourself in the car that you want to drive.
Well, that's why it's like really very close to like a LaVeyan Satanism, where it's like no joke, like that is very much like do what thou will is the whole of the law, and it's all about enriching yourself and gaining personal happiness through actualizing your will through ritual. And so like casting, and that's like
Yeah,
all this stuff, like
exactly
casting a
the same.
spell, all that stuff is about.
And if you
like-
guys check out the show page, Holt will link you to some literature he wants to show you.
But it's like
it's really important to him. Let's just
but this
let him
stuff
do
is
it.
all over the place. Like you have, I'll go through a little bit, but like, like animal magnetism and magnetism.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Right.
that stuff in the Victorian era. The Golden Dawn would be one in the 19th
Well, the
century as well.
magnetism was based off of a guy. What's the word? Mesmer.
Mesmerism.
Yeah.
So again,
That's where animal magnetism
like-
comes from. Yeah.
law of attraction. It's sort of like imposing your will on someone else and getting them to do things. And that's sort of an outside, like external use of this law or whatever. But it's really more about like being so confident in yourself that you instill other people to act the way you want them to.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what hypnotism kind of is. It's not.
This-
Does it actually happen? No, it's suggestion, but you have to like. That's why there are cult leaders and L. Ron Hubbards and stuff who are powerful hypnotists.
Pimps.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that this one doesn't like.
I'm not saying L. Ron Hubbard's a pimp. I'm
I
just
think-
saying that
But
pimps
there are
use the
cult
same
leaders
kind
who are
of
pimps.
the same kind of philosophies to control their people.
The Secret doesn't push that angle as much of like bending other people to your will, but
No.
it's more about like as long as you're positive and you eliminate negative thinking, then like good things will happen. And then for 87 minutes, it just like hammers that very simple
Yeah.
idea over and over and gives you lots and lots of examples. And it's essentially like tries to like little by little like turn
Right.
kind of brainwashing
they're,
into the
they're
concept.
definitely like there's one or two dudes like I was saying to these guys when we were watching a little of it together that this is like that dude's a Satanist. Like he's got the black shirt and the like
Beads.
necklaces with the like it's a
Right.
it's a very like culter like a he could be an OTO or one of those kind of guys.
What is OTO?
Like Orderus Templari Ordo. Like it's
Yeah.
it's Aleister Crowley's like Church of Satanism.
It definitely hints a lot at the occult, and at this idea of this being ancient. In that, like, they constantly do all these fast cuts until of ancient tablets and like all this mystical historical stuff that like that is just kind of random. Like doesn't have any basis.
It's charged imagery, but not
Yes.
charged with anything specific. It's just
Right.
mysterious.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, in that sums up the thing in general because it is really just taking pieces of whatever philosophy that's out there that's a common thread that people want to believe, that's just flowing in every religion, and just kind of repackaging it in a hey, if you want it bad enough, you get it, because you just got to be believing in it, which
Right.
is, you know.
By the end, it's like there's so much reiteration
Yeah.
of the idea that by the end, not that I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go out and try this, but you end up thinking a little bit almost like, well, it wouldn't kill me to try it. And see. It's not like I have to sacrifice a child. I have to think positive thoughts. And what would happen if I thought positive thoughts for 2 weeks straight, you know?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. They do a little dodge, I feel like, where they talk about how everything that's happening to you now is not the result of how you feel right now. It's the result of how you felt 2 weeks ago, or like in your your recent past. And that really makes it easy to say, okay, it just makes it, that little disconnect, I feel like, is a really easy way to be like, right, I was sad 2 weeks ago, or right, I was in a good mood because I saw my niece 2
That
weeks
fortune
ago.
teller was correct. I did lose somebody I loved once.
Right. Right. And that little bit of distance. But going back to what John was saying, like, this feels very much to me, it definitely, while I was watching this, all I could think about was chaos magic, which is this like sort of newer, like 1970s,
It's like the third.
80s. Yeah, the third interpretation of that Golden Dawn stuff. And that's very much just like it, like magic exists if you believe that it exists in that moment, and then if you don't, it doesn't. And Santa Claus is real for 2 seconds if you need him to be, and then he's not, and things like that.
Right. But there's I mean, what those guys talk about, which is interesting, is that there are dangers. Your level of belief is your own or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But there are dangers in being too vague. Or again, the chaos aspect of chaos magic in their mind is you're putting yourself out there in the world. You are seeking and searching for things, and you might find them in abundance, and they may not be good for you. Like, or you may be looking for the wrong stuff, and it'll come back to you bad. And that's what, like, you're if these forces are real, if they are, and you're playing with them without, like, you're playing with fire and you don't know what you're doing, could be an issue.
Yeah. And they use a lot of like very simple analogies, like the universe is like a genie and you give it your wishes, but be careful what you wish for, kind of stuff.
They say that in the
yeah, and then they
I didn't hear
literally
that part.
show a genie and like an Aladdin character, like they do a lot of stuff.
They use a lot of stock footage in this.
Oh yes, it's full of like super cheesy stock footage. It's incredible.
It is pretty amazing when they get actors in, though. And
Yes, because that
For the-
Aladdin is dripping sweat.
It must have been hot in that studio.
he was in the jar or whatever. His lamp was all like.
I really hope that listeners have taken the time to watch this before we talk about it, because you'll be slamming your head against the wall saying, yes, it's so.
It's like, I have to say, like, it was incredibly entertaining to me. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
I
will say that.
I
yeah.
laughed out loud a lot,
Yeah.
and it was a great time for me.
Well, I will
really
say
enjoyed
it had a feel of like a training. Well, what I've told them is like I've never seen a Scientology video, but I imagine they feel like this. It's all like upbeat people, like interviews in front of a green screen, and it's got like not good music, but well produced. You know, everything's like slick, and so by the end of it, you just feel like you want to see the thing at the end is like, and don't sexually harass your friends at work. You know what I mean? It's just like, now stay tuned for another video, this time about theft, or whatever. And it's like,
and it's like it's slick, but like definitely like low budget. Like it's like it's like TV, like mid-level TV
well, it looks,
budget.
I don't know if you guys ever seen Ancient Aliens, but
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same type, exactly the
Totally,
same type
totally.
of production, exactly the same kind of vagueness, the same kind of pseudoscience.
Well, supposedly the intention was for this to be on television.
Yeah,
Yes.
it looks like it.
And then it was distributed primarily through the internet, and you could buy it online on the internet.
This video?
Yeah, I mean, then it was on
DVD,
DVD.
right?
But then as it gained ground, it was then like screened in a lot of places and in theaters and things like that.
And they've been trying.
Could you
they're still
imagine
trying to
seeing
make
this in a
TV series.
theater with people?
It would be very weird. It also, like, the network that initially funded, like, gave them like not all, like, I think they gave them like a quarter of the budget or something, and that's what really got it going. It was some Australian network. They initially were like once it was finished, we're like, oh no, we don't want this. Like they chose
Right, because I bet
not
it was
to-
like a BBC type of thing where they're like, oh, we're going to make a documentary. Oh, you're going to make a documentary. Here's your funding. We
Yeah.
do this 3 times a year. And when they got it done, they're like, this is an infomercial. This
Yeah.
isn't a documentary.
But then once it started getting successful, they're like, well, screw it, we'll show it. Right. We paid for it, whatever. Yeah, it's kind of like. But yeah, the other thing that I love is that so they got all these different, like speakers, or I don't know what you would call these people, like self-help experts.
Nobodies. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
All these gurus, from all these different places, all together in one film, and it's a fascinating mix of people.
Yeah.
And
also like Ancient Aliens.
yes, and kind of all the different flavors of those type of people. I don't know how to describe them.
Yeah. You got the preachery person. You got
Yeah.
the businessy type of person.
Yeah, you have the nice lady
Right.
who could have sold Amway but decided to do this instead.
Kind elderly male doctor.
Yes.
Yeah.
The pseudoscientific expert, and then you have the straight up just sleazy car salesman types. And then just some real weirdos. And one of my favorites was Bob Proctor, who just is this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he's sort of he's a mix of self-help expert with a down-home spun
Yeah, he's
kind
like
of.
Colonel Sanders
Yeah, and
for the soul.
He had the weirdest vibe because he sort of didn't seem to be taking what he was saying very seriously. I
Right.
kind of thought I don't know. He just seemed like an actor. I didn't find anything he said believable or that. He didn't have that the gravitas that everyone else had, and he just seemed really strange to me. What did you guys think of that guy?
Yeah, I unfortunately, so my get real corner is my dad's a chiropractor, and so I've been around these kind of people a good amount. I've gone to fire walks, and I've gone to where most of the day before the firewalk is spent in circles and kind of drum playing and all, building yourself up, basically again actualizing your will to do it, or hearing tapes of these people. They speak like that because it's it's a pattern of speech for
convincing rubes.
Yeah, for getting you to believe something.
Yeah. You would hear the same kind of language at a rental share type of, or
Right.
whatever
Yeah,
that's called.
timeshare.
Timeshare type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Or in a tent church
Or a
in the middle,
Scientology
yeah.
meeting. Yeah.
And that dude who's saying, you just need to hyphenate the word. Dis-ease. You are not at ease in your own body. You are
Is it
diseased.
this guy?
No, it's the dude
Bob
you're showing
Proctor.
before. It talks about that.
No,
He's-
but-
that
gotcha.
guy's a chiropractor too.
Yes, he's a former chiropractor.
And so that guy,
Dr. John F. DeMartini, for those who watched it.
he may have been former, but that didn't keep them from putting the DC after his name and putting the spines in the background.
Right,
So
right.
that it was secret clues.
Secret.
But he wasn't tagged as a physician either. He was tagged as a.
And this
Philosopher, I
Yeah.
think.
this guy was gave me the creepiest vibe
Yeah,
of them
yeah.
all. And he had the flamboyant hand gestures and I don't know.
He's got sort of
he had
a
that
low-rent Patrick Bateman thing.
Yeah, and I don't know,
From
slight
American Psycho,
pedophile kind of vibe
But
to
and
him.
really that you call it
No,
rubes.
no,
and
we're
it-
not going to say that. We can't say that.
And they're
It's
sort
just a vibe.
Oh, okay, just
I'm
a
not
vibe. Just a
accusing
vibe.
him.
Just a vibe. Okay, good.
of the I think you're spot on with the whole basically the country's in a level of affluence 2006 where the middle class is riding the bubble, they're the skin of the bubble, and they have this uneasy wealth, and magic
Uneasy well.
magic like this is practiced by the people who have the leisure time to practice magic. You can actualize your self-help and sit there worrying about your bills because you're, middle class and not just drudging and trudging through your day is heavy. And so these guys have the capacity and the openness for that. And then they're trying to sell this to the next level down, who have that income, who spend the $20 to figure out how they can make $2 million, because everybody's got to get there.
Well, I will say that I don't know where this went, but I do, the thing about this documentary is you expect at the end for there to be so join this and get this literature,
Right, and
someplace
it
where you
doesn't
have
do
to pay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that end, I mean, these people put this out there. I mean, they are selling books,
And
but
DVDs,
they're not like trying to start a club with anything
No,
in
but
their.
But they're moving volume. That's the key. The key is this is great. It's simple. It's cheap. You know what? Everybody needs El Cleano, El Handy Wipe, like $29.99. You can have the secret.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's
that's
also-
the thing. But if you just watch this video for free,
Yeah,
what
but
do you got to lose? I mean, it's not like
it's on
they're asking
Netflix,
you to.
but it's on Netflix now.
Yeah.
Like my dad paid his $30 for the copy and for his $25 copy of the book. My sister, his
yeah,
sisters,
my mom did for sure.
everybody like it's all nodal, like because they aren't doing the L. Ron Hubbard where they're trying to be like, we just need to get one guy through the door and milk him all the way up the chain.
And the other thing too is like it got. I'm sure everyone involved in this, and I mean, it was a gamble for everyone, or at least, I mean, it wasn't any skin off their backs really. But anybody involved had a huge, publicity boost out of it, and I'm sure had a lot more people coming to their talks and buying their books.
What we were
and so
saying, it was
forth.
like 19 million copies sold.
Yeah, here I have the stats.
Yeah, well, I mean, famously, this was
so it only-
this was the book or the people behind it were profiled on Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah,
and
and
it
that's
sent everything through
into the
the.
stratosphere. Yeah, so it had a budget of $3.5 million, and it made $65 million worldwide. But yeah, sorry, like I wasn't looking at the book, so I don't know this.
The documentary was made for $65 million.
no, it was made for $3 million.
Which
Oh, okay.
seems super high.
Yeah,
But
Right?
probably a lot of that went to paying everyone.
Yeah, because
Right.
you're
to
There's a
fly
lot of
to
people.
Australia.
Well, and also they were from Australia, and everybody, a lot of the people were in the States and so
Yeah.
forth.
well, it's also like the chicken soup for the soul guy.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
he was.
Their fees were probably
Yeah,
pretty
there's
huge.
like you get.
I'm the chicken soup for the soul guy. I don't put my name on just anything.
And all the post production and
Of course, right.
designing all these amazing backgrounds.
Distribution,
having somebody animate
Right.
them.
embezzling like
Yes.
$2 million.
I'd read
Maybe
the-
that included marketing.
Right. The book I had read sold 19 million copies,
Wow.
which is pretty unheard of. That's pretty up there.
And it's kind of
That's them Harry Potter numbers.
Yeah.
And I guess I did think of it as a book first. Maybe
Yeah,
that's. I
me
think that's
too.
what was advertised.
Maybe that's what the Oprah Winfrey show talked about was the
Right.
book
Yeah,
because
and-
I thought for sure this was just a documentary to sell the book.
Yeah,
That's
but-
why it was curious to hear that you said it. Wow.
Yeah, and maybe reading it as a book would be a little. I feel like. I mean, I don't know. The fact that it's called The Secret and everything would would be a turnoff for me anyway. But I feel like reading it as a book might feel a little less like
Salesman-y.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe.
Little less Cutco.
So I have a question for you guys. This is hilarious and totally corny, but do you think that it is bad or evil?
I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Like the reason why, and I mean, I don't, like you were saying, like, oh, what if it is real, blah, blah. That's sort of like, that argument's great because that's true with climate change. What if it is real? Let's deal with it. Let's not sit on our asses and let's just keep polluting the planet. Who cares, right? No, we should do something.
Right.
But this one goes so far as to say, this cured my cancer. This,
Yeah. Right. Once it
this
gets
gets
into
me
that.
over, this got me over this thing. Or, you know what? You're telling yourself you can't afford that? That's why you can't afford it. Just go buy it.
Well, also, I mean, any type of wishful, magical thinking type of philosophy like this is also the failure blame game, where it's just like it's super easy to create this type of philosophy where at the end you're just like, oh, well, you can't blame me because you're not successful. You're not doing it right.
yeah. Well, that's
know what I
but
mean?
it's also for the person who's involved in it. It gives them excuses within their own life to do the same thing. Like, well, you don't think I have a good job performance because you're not appreciating what I do bring to this company.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why it's not my problem. I'm not working hard enough. It's that I'm not
it's
being appreciated here.
It gets down to the kind of like evidence versus how you feel.
Right.
I forget what the section of the movie was, but it was like if you dwell in the negativity, then you're never gonna. I forget what the example was. They were talking about hunger or political strife or I think it was. I forget what it was, but I was just like. But my takeaway from it was, so then how do you learn from mistakes? And that's what the problem with this philosophy is just, no, you ignore all that.
Right. It's
you
rose-colored
ignore
glasses.
facts that you don't want.
Right.
Because if you think about them, you're giving them power.
Well, that's another thing, too. If
You're
you have
giving
a
them energy
If
that
you have
they
a
feed
mental
on.
health issue, like if you're someone who really, like, you've had a traumatic experience in your life, or you've had, like, a pattern of unhealthy things happen to you because of the choices you make and how you think, if you're, again, glomming onto this philosophy as a way to work yourself free of those things, super dangerous. Like it's not. You're
well,
not.
if you glom onto only this, then yes.
Well, no,
it
no,
is
but that's the thing.
dangerous.
But this is saying you don't. You just got to put on those rose-colored glasses,
Right.
and you're just not skipping hard enough.
Well, I mean, here's the problem with this, is that in a way we all kind of believe in something like this without saying that it's a cure-all. In a way, we all kind of. I mean, I certainly believe in like, hey, man. Yeah, it's like karma. It's like Zen Buddhism. It's like stay on the path. Don't worry about things you can't affect. Only worry about the things you can affect. And so in a way, we all kind of believe in positive energy.
Right.
But
and the thing is, there is something to that, I think.
exactly,
I do think,
and that's
like,
the problem is because it gives credence to this
right.
thing.
It gives them an inroad to like.
Yeah.
Then they take it too far.
Right,
Because
yeah.
I do believe in the power of positive
Yeah.
thinking, and in the placebo effect is a real thing, and there's growing evidence that it's hugely like, that it's as effective as many treatments.
Yeah.
Just believing that you're being cured by something. So there is something to all that, but the difference here is that they're
blind following.
right. They're taking it too far, and that positive thinking has to be mixed with action. And whereas here they're like, it's a very passive thing. It's like you just imagine the thing and then it will come to you.
Well,
without saying, but while you're doing that, you also have to be making strides.
You
to
also
got to
write your movie.
Because they were talking about how they did a bunch of studies where people would spend a lot of time imagining the thing, and then they would actually end up doing less work to make it happen, and so they ended up being less successful than people who just worked hard.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean that's they do talk about some ritual, like getting in there and writing this down and like making this on a piece of paper. But again, I agree that like again, if you were a chaos magician or something and you were casting a spell or something, you know what I mean, like 9/11. Well, because look, 11.
the secret is responsible.
Well, because one is a very powerful magical number, right?
Yeah.
11
two of them.
is a dangerous, magical, powerful number. And is actually Aleister Crowley's one of his like favorite numbers. 9 is a very bad number. So 9/11, evil magic. Okay. And also the two ones, that's actually the Hermetic Tower.
3 planes, 2 towers, 1 pentagon.
All kinds. There's all kinds of magic going on.
Wait, but how does this relate to the secret?
Well, they
Because the government is keeping the truth behind 9/11 a secret.
Well, yeah. So that was an
is
unfortunate tangent. But basically, if you're going out there and saying like, all right, I have my shrine, I have my like my rituals, and I'm putting it. Yeah. You have a shrine. You're invoking like certain gods or whatever, and
Write
focusing on this thing.
Write it on a black oak.
But but you're actually like the next step in that. But it's all the same thing as a secret. It's like writing it down 16 times in your notebook is the same as like standing in front of a black candle with a pentagram or something. It's,
Right.
Exactly the same. So why don't people do
what
that?
What it is it's putting your mind on the thing that you want to do. But then, like you said, Jules, you got to go out and take that focused energy and make strides to that end.
Right.
And
So you might say you have to make sacrifices, is what you're saying. So like you have to sacrifice stuff to your black evil god.
Right.
In order for the secret to come
if you
true.
don't actually kill your child, it's not going to happen.
Right,
No matter
right.
how
Yeah.
positive
you're not going to
think.
have a dead child.
So yeah, I feel like the secret.
Have another
like,
dumb running around child that's alive.
I feel like
asking
the
for
secret.
lunch.
It's all like all of this is like well and good. It's people need rituals. People need things to hang on to. I think that a lot of it is fine until it gets to the part where the person says, I was diagnosed with cancer. 3 months later, I was completely cured, and I never went on chemotherapy, and it's because of this. And that makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
That's so irresponsible.
Yeah, there's a lot of leaps like this in this thing where they just way oversell it. And they also use incredibly specific examples that are ludicrous.
Right.
Like, for example, like you keep getting bills in the mail. If you just picture checks, you'll start getting
get a
checks.
check.
And I'm like, what? That makes no sense.
Right.
To be fair, worth a try.
Yeah.
What do you got
that's
to
true.
lose, people?
That's true. What do you
But a
got
lot
to
of it's just like it is just scraping off the very top of all these other philosophies and all these other belief systems. It's like, oh, here's a Jungian idea, and here's this like Hermetic philosophy idea. Let's just steal that. Da, da, da. Here's a Rosicrucian idea. Let's just yank that.
What? A Rosa what?
It's like a cult in the
Some ancient
15th or
thingy.
16th century. It's just all these. It's just a hodgepodge of gobbledygook, and it's basically saying, hey, there's an audience for this. Let's repackage it and sell it again because it's about time. No one's sold this in a while, and we'll put it on the internet. Or whatever.
And I think it was like the most successful, packaging of this idea, and the fact that it was the movie and the book deal and kind of all these different experts, and I'm sure then all the people featured in it were also cross promoting, so it just had because before it was always just one individual doing it on their own, and most of the people featured in the film were already doing it on their own, but
already had their own audiences.
yeah, it's sort of like
built up.
I think that was the genius, was bringing all of those voices together, just kind of helped amplify it.
The genius was putting it in Oprah's hand.
And also calling it The Secret, because it did have
brilliant.
this mystery about it, even though when you find out what it is, you're like, oh, okay. Like, how do
that's
they
not
talk
a
about this
secret.
for an entire book?
Well, I mean, a lot of that too is they're also just straight up, like, this is if you're making a cult or like trying to convince people to believe certain things.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You are, exactly. But you tell them, or like if you're trying to prove something,
Sign me up.
like,
I want my own cult.
but you tell them, all the scientists
t-shirts?
say that this isn't real. What does establishment science have against my ideas?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know what? The government has gone after us and said that what we're preaching here is dangerous. Why is the government trying to suppress our thoughts? What is so powerful that the entire government has to come down here and stop us from providing you all these truths?
By the way, meet my third wife.
I got her through the
Secret.
message. Welcome, I am John, and this is The Message.
That was actually a very savvy thing that they do in the documentary, that they sort of address that. There's a line at some point that it's like, because this is a secret that Da Vinci knew, that Aristotle knew, and they were like, the one mistake that everyone before made was not sharing
it with
the world.
everyone. Yeah.
That's brilliant to me. In
That's
my
why
opinion,
it's a secret, because they didn't share it.
Well, because it also makes it a chain letter.
And they also allude to the fact that like the rich and powerful all know this.
Yeah.
And that's why they're successful.
And then
Ask
we're
Tony
bringing it to
Robbins.
the- oh my God! And 2 years later, market crash because too many people were tapping into the law
Too
of attraction.
much secret.
Yeah.
Too much secret. So it
Too
was
much
no
secret,
longer-
not enough bubble.
Too much. That secret seal got broken.
Yeah, and then the real rich people who already knew it were like, pull the plug on the economy, guys. These people are trying to get in on our game.
We're going to make him think they failed. Because we've rigged the system.
So had you guys? You said your mom had bought the book.
I've seen the book in my house, floating around, the DVD as well. Yeah.
Had you guys watched or seen this before?
I'd seen infomercials for it, and I knew it had been on Oprah. Like, I just kind of was culturally aware of it. But
Yeah, I think
that's
it's
about
one of
it.
those things like the Macarena. It's just like, about it.
Macarena.
You're just like, hey, I've never like pushed play on the tape Macarena or the CD or the whatever, but I've heard it. Like The Secret.
You've done the dance though.
It is
yeah,
the
of course.
Macarena of philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was one where my dad's like, we need to sit down and watch this.
Wow.
It's very
Really?
important. And so,
But had he seen it, or was that
yeah, someone had like,
he had seen it and he told you, hey, let's sit down and
yeah,
watch this?
Yep.
That's so fun. I totally would not have guessed that of your dad.
Especially your pop, yeah.
It's
he
again.
is a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. I mean, that's interesting that the chiropractor is there like a thing with chiropractors with
cult.
some magical
It's like-
thinking?
A little bit. I mean,
Really? I never knew that. I thought it
little
was like
bit.
a.
I mean, it's just again,
They're doctors.
they're doctors of chiropractics. Like that's the difference. You know, it's like there's a specific college for them. Like it's one of those things.
But it's
where,
not like acupuncture. Like you have to go to a college and.
right. But the college, like you can go to colleges of Eastern medicine too, like
Right.
and learn acupuncture.
And no, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with acupuncture. I'm just saying that like I
Right.
could call myself an acupuncturist.
Well, you
I
may have
can't-
to get certification, or you may want to hold that diploma from the School of Western or Eastern Medicine on your wall. The challenge with like chiropractics or any of these, like it's one of those ones where there's probably some good aspect to it, whether it's like a more vaunted version of massage that's like
Or physical therapy.
or a PT, yeah.
Right.
Where it runs into problems is when it's like we're starting to go into chi or opening energy or whatever you want to call it, where it's like creating things.
Realigning your chakras.
Yeah.
Well,
like-
that leads us right into our pick today, the Iron Fist.
but that's like it's where it's not even a slippery slope. You're on a balance beam of stuff where you're over this crevasse of magical thinking and
Which in this analogy we'll consider a river full of alligators.
exactly.
Okay.
So
you're on a balancing beam. Let's just get this analogy right. You're on a balancing beam over a river full of alligators.
Exactly. So
The
you're walking
alligators
along.
are magical thinking.
magical thinking and sort
The
of
balancing beam
and
is that
attributed-
thin thread
Well, that's-
between
that-
science and.
Or
well,
your-
no,
or your
the
spine.
balance. The thing
Gotcha.
is, the balancing beam is the thin amount of proof and evidence of what that you do does, and maybe there's a little more to it, but the science is still being done, and the challenge, is being honest with the science and not jumping to conclusions, not like hopping off of the rail, going off the rails, and
Into the
Wait, there are two
alligator's
rails
mouth.
now? I thought there was just the one.
there's just the one rail.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah.
Railians. Let's talk about railians. I don't not.
No,
so
I
it's-
know what you're saying about
it's
chiropractic.
precarious.
Yeah.
You're in a very like it's sort of like being a that edge of going from being like a therapist or psychologist into being like a spiritualist.
What does your dad think about cupping?
He's more a spooning kind of guy. I don't know.
No, but like since the Olympics, have people come in and been like, Doctor, you got to cup my
No,
back
they don't
all
do
up so I can
cupping.
swim
No,
good.
they don't
Okay.
do that. And also that doesn't. I mean, it causes like painful bruising and is not a good practice.
Cupping.
There's a lot of like you could argue acupuncture is not a good practice probably. Like again, a lot of it is
Acupuncture or chiropractic?
Well, some chiropractics is not a good practice too. Like you just shouldn't. There's certain
Be cracking
things.
people's necks.
Yeah, you just gotta be very careful. You're doing stuff to people's bodies, and
That's
again,
why you got to go to school to do it.
Some of those things are simply ritual to activate the placebo and healing of their own body, so that like they can.
So in a way, it's the secret in action.
Sure. I mean, again, if
Chiropractics is proving that the secret is correct.
no,
Good night, everybody. It's been a great podcast.
but yeah, that's it's just something where you gotta. I think you just have to be careful when you're dealing with that kind of stuff that's like fringe, a little bit.
Well, I think all of it you have to kind of, it's like any philosophy. You can't ever trust fully. You can't ever buy fully into, almost anything. That's why
Right, but
I'm
nobody's
cynical.
but the thing is, like, you don't go to the Play-Doh man and get your Play-Doh pill. Like, there's the philosophy is something where you take it and you ingest it and you figure out if that's something when you reflect on life and the things around you and how you kind of travel through this world and think about things. That's what a philosophy is doing. It's helping you like explore different ways of focusing and looking at this reality and the different layers of these realities. And
synthesizing the
Right.
environment, the
And
world around you.
it's not, I think the danger is when you're having someone else like physically act on you based on a philosophy, like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's again,
Like,
sort of
hey, doc, I got this cancer. And he's like, I got the secret.
right. I'm
So
going to,
good luck. You're good.
well, again, if someone like, if you get a feng shui artist in and they say like, put this chair in front of your door so you trip over the chair every time you come in, but it's going to bring you success. Great. That's great.
Right.
What's great?
Well, I think that this kind of all does like we're in an interesting time right now where a great amount of people in our country and across the world, I mean, all these elections all over, it's this very polarized thing where, you know, it's all a big reaction to globalization and such, but on an individual level at all these different elections all over the world, the Western world, there are these big philosophical heads hitting, and it's kind of a big rise of this conservative thing. But I think along with this conservative thinking is an unhealthy dose of this same kind of magical thinking.
With the conservative, but it's interesting because I think it's breaking.
Well, I think it goes both ways because I mean, and I really like what Bernie has to say, but there are a lot of his supporters that are just as magical thinking as as some of the Trump magical thinkers, where they're just like, oh well, evidence be damned. This is how I feel.
Well, that's like a libertarian ideal where you're very. I mean, honestly, The Secret is a libertarian idea.
Yeah.
Where
not quite.
Well, you're very much focused on the self, and it's like like a Randian sort of thing where you're saying, I'm going to move forward with my progress, and you aren't thinking about the consequences of the people around you. You are getting your own, and you don't want anything in your way as you go for that.
But yeah, I mean, it's also like an idea that like that only works if everyone.
And it's a fairy tale,
weed is legal,
exactly.
right? But weed is legal.
If you want it to be legal.
But it's basically it's ideas that like kind of made sense somewhat and predated the Industrial Revolution, where the concept was everyone would be kind of like their own boss, and everything would be in exchange from one independent contractor to another. But it's just not since the Industrial Revolution. It's just not.
It's not feasible.
Right. It's just not what the
There's too much
reality
interconnected like aspects. But getting back to that though, I mean, this is how you get these people who just flatly will refuse to believe the facts of global warming, of the fact that the
Earth is round.
Yeah, well, and that like politicians use the same language that these types of people use, where it's evasive and such. But people refuse to believe that crime is at an all-time low in almost the entire world. And it's because, and if you were to ask a savvy politician, they would say, well, if you ask most people, they would disagree with you, instead of saying, you know what I mean? And it's using this same kind of magical thinking / car salesman-y language, and I feel like it's weird. It has permeated throughout all of the Western world. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's.
I mean, Australia's dealing with it with this kind of like big dueling rise of the conservative class. Like ultra, I mean, not ultra conservative. I guess that implies kind of like a skinheady kind
nationalists.
of vibe.
No, they are nationalists. Though.
Yeah, and I mean, and all over, and I don't know, maybe that's a result of 20 years of Fox News, but something is making that, and I feel like that France, this type of thing is riding that same kind of wave.
But France doesn't have a Fox News. You know what I mean? They don't have a channel because they have a different kind of press. Like they don't. So the way that information disseminates is different. The internet probably has given rise to fracturalization.
Yeah.
Dangerous thoughts. But listen, the Earth is round.
Right.
We live on the inside curve, and there's a sphere in the center that has the sun and moon and the stars in it.
Right.
On the outside
That's
of the
also
sphere,
where the dinosaurs are. Right?
No. That's these dinosaurs on the outside of the sphere. Because we know that because in World War II, the Nazis made saucers and now they've colonized the outside part of the
outer ring.
The outer surface of the Earth,
as well as the moon.
Because we are on the
dark side of the moon.
No, you can't go to the moon because it's just inside this condensed sphere at the core of the inverted spoon of
and the gravity there is really tight.
Oh yeah, it would crush you.
Mm-hmm.
But to conclude, as a species, we're like irrational and prone to many biases that make us eat this kind of stuff up.
But a little bit of positive thinking never hurt anybody.
Hey,
just don't think that it's going to cure your cancer.
This episode was even more fantastic than I even dreamed.
Not me. I visualized exactly this.
Oh no, it came back to me 20-fold.
Well, for me, this was really bigly. This was
Right? Yeah.
So. Would you tell someone else about The Secret?
I would absolutely tell someone else to watch this with someone else.
Yeah. Watch it with a group, I think.
I watched it alone on my laptop at work, or little snippets, and it did not have the same effect as when I came to the studio and it was on and watched it with you guys sort of standing around. It's just
it's
would
got
be even more fun.
It's got a good Mystery Science Theater kind of feel
Totally.
to it if you're with the right group.
But I had a great time watching it, like by myself, or sitting next to my girlfriend who was like, "What are you laughing about?"
Yeah. I guess for myself, like when I was watching it alone, like it turns my stomach. I don't know. I really have.
I don't know. I guess maybe because it's far enough in the past and most people have moved on to some other idea that I just found it very amusing.
It's just not far away enough for me.
I think it was just like
we're coming up on.
It was just so much-
the 11th year anniversary.
it
of
was
The
so much
Secret.
gaudier than I had even anticipated, and especially the graphical treatment and everything just really blew my mind.
The Secret.
Yeah, $3 million went into that puppy.
Yeah.
Is it Australian dollars or American dollars?
I mean, I think that's converted to US, but I think a lot of it must have been paying people on the marketing budget.
Well, the
I
thing is,
bet.
too, you can watch The Secret for just $9.99 a month
Send your
On
checks
Netflix.
to
on Netflix.
Well, actually, I think there is oh no, that's right. It's up to $9.99.
Or if you send me $9.99, I'll whisper a secret into your ear.
It's all baloney. The more you frown, the more powerful your frown muscles get. Exercise your face. It uses more muscles to frown than to smile.
Burn them calories.
Too many fat people don't smile. Wait, no, it's the opposite.
It's most women on the street, really. Come on, darling.
Why don't you smile?
Wait,
I'll love you more.
you. I'm visualizing you.
I'm visualizing
in my
you.
arms.
I'll be the lover you always imagine if you just smile.
I'm just thinking about those pants on the floor.
Anyway,
So if you want to subject someone to The Secret, you can do it on Netflix. Good pictures.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
successful.
Great discussion.
love it.
All right.
And if you don't like The Secret, it's your fault because you're not being positive enough about it.
Right.
Yeah. You can't bring that negativity to it.
Right,
or-
right. Before you even
You're
push
gonna
play,
fail.
like get rid of that.
I'm
Unload that.
positive that this is bad for you.
You're making it true, John.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to kill anybody who watches The Secret. Put enough black karma on it. My will is a spear. I have hardened my will through ritual.
That's the new Ring movie. Is like somebody makes this kind of like self-help thing, and everybody who watches it.
No, there is a movie.
Just like Tony Robbins with long wet hair.
crawling out, all 6'8" of him.
Let me tell you about how I brought success to my life.
By the way, there is a great documentary about one of Tony Robbins' events on Netflix as well. I highly recommend that as well.
Do you remember what it's called?
I can't remember what it's called. It's got
Well,
some
when
kind of
we
weird
were watching
title.
this, it did suggest a Tony Robbins thing.
But it's not like straight up Tony Robbins thing. It's a documentary about one of his like mega events.
I've heard about it. It's kind of new, right?
Yeah, it came out I think this past year, and it is like pretty incredible to watch. Like it's kind of insane. Like he whips up a frenzy in people, and
See, he's
Well, it's
watching him in action is
like a
pretty
tent revival, like an
yeah, but see,
evangelist.
he's kind of like a Penn and Teller of that kind of stuff, I think, too.
kind of. But
Do you
he really
think like in a
believes it.
debunker kind of a way?
No, just
No, I
more
think he
like
kinda believes it.
like they're magicians. They do the tricks on you. He's a guru. He actualizes.
Yeah, but I think that
things in
he's
you.
telling you to buy in, is he not?
He's telling you to buy in, but he's also like I think he strips away some more of the money. Like he's a little more honest with it.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I mean, he's still
I've
selling.
had the wrong idea about
He's
that
still
guy
selling you
since the
stuff,
90s.
but I don't know. I don't think he's.
I mean, from the film, he seems sincere. You know what I mean? But it's
Right.
just like he's still he uses all the same tricks as a lot of those people.
Yeah.
To get to
the
fit
shaman
peop-
tricks.
Right.
Yeah.
and it does. You can see why it's effective on
Right.
people, but it's still like Maybe he still overpromises. I think is the problem.
Well, no, he made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Oh, this different guy.
Oh, sorry. The secret. All right. So, thanks, Jules. Good pick. Off we go. Away from the secret.
Email after email after email, viewers wanted to talk about The Secret. Well, even if you missed last week's show, this is a must-see today because The Secret is a book and it's a DVD that really is touching a nerve around the world. The timing, I believe, is just perfectly right. I feel it that so many people are hungry for guidance and meaning in their lives. And The Secret offers some of that. It is the law of attraction. It says that the energy, that the thoughts, and the feelings that you put out into the world.
Such a question, there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Feel I'm alone in this hole of existence. I know it takes time, but I'm losing my persistence. The distance is too
Everybody, thanks for listening to the first in our Success series. I think that was
it's a very successful
first
podcast.
episode.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to roll into a second pick. Before we do that, before we get into that information, I was one of your hosts, John Holt. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. You can find me on Instagram at board_ghost. And you can listen to my other podcast, Board Ghost, if you want to hear some stories told with games. This latest one
All
we
very
played,
successful.
we played the Scrubs one that had like a lot of abortion in it. It was very weird.
What?
That it was like daydreaming hospital, kind of like Scrubs, but then like the whole theme was like
Is
like,
it
people
is
dying
it a
of
Scrub
childbirth and
thing
trying to
franchise?
sell kidneys and stuff. It was a little weird.
Is it associated with the Scrubs show?
No, it was just like
Oh.
this one sort of playset was billed itself
Got it.
as like
Okay.
as sort of like a Scrubs hospital where the characters sort of have their daydreams and then those are metaphors for the scenes that actualize. So it was weird, but yeah.
How long? Which ones were those? How long ago did you? Is that what's
they'll
going on
be,
right now?
They'll be out probably
Oh,
around the
got it.
same time this episode.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was like, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
A little ways off yet. Keith, where can people find you?
People can find me at earthlingkeith.com. So, Jules, what about you, bud?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at BeautifulJules. And how about you, Jocko?
You can find me on everything at Jocko Farino.
All right. And again, Jocko,
And we will
we're-
put that up on the internet so you can spell
You
it
can,
right.
yeah, it's tricky to spell.
and we will definitely be looking out for your work, man.
The
We're
Ranger.
super
The
excited
Ranger.
for that.
Coming probably in the fall.
Well, maybe we'll
That'd be
get
cool.
you in for Halloween
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
Sounds great.
We got to get. Well, when it comes to town, we have to all see it. Maybe we'll make
For
a
sure.
thing. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
make a show of ours
Well-
going to see it.
Well, and
Matt
yeah, because
Schwartz.
we had a previous guest, Matt, who we
watches
thought-
every horror movie that comes out every year
Amazing.
in the
so
theater.
if it screens in New York, he will see your film.
Great.
And we
he
should
would-
get you both on because, in fact,
Yeah.
we should just make a podcast for you and Matt.
Oh my God, that'd be great.
And-
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we'll get Jen in there, and we'll just sit back and watch you guys
Perfect.
go horror movie crazy.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah. So before we go into that other thing I teased earlier, what was new to you, Jocko?
Okay, new to me, and stop me if you've already talked about this. The show Riverdale. You
we
guys-
have not talked about it, though. I've heard somebody
Oh.
on a podcast talking about it.
Really?
A former guest of ours.
Oh, Taylor was talking
Yeah,
about it, right?
Taylor Schmerl was talking about it on her podcast. They love this
It
Riverdale
is
show.
amazing. It's the CW, so it's a CW
So
teen.
say no more.
Right.
It's already perfect.
I mean, the pitch shouldn't make sense. It's a CW teen drama adaptation of
Archie.
set in Archie comics, set in the modern day, like the current Archie comic that's out right now. That's doing really well, revolving around a murder mystery, and it's totally informed by Twin Peaks.
Whoa.
It is incredible for what it is, and even beyond that, I'm in love with it. We have guilty pleasure.
How long has it been on? It's pretty
The
far
season
along.
finale is at the time of this recording
Right. Oh, wow.
this
Okay.
week. So it's been about 12
So
weeks.
binge it, y'all, if you haven't seen
binge
it yet.
Yeah. It's really great.
Is it really great?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
I like those CW style shows a
Yeah.
lot. I think they're they're really fun. Like they don't take themselves too seriously,
Right.
but they're serious enough to like make you cry.
Do you think they're going to have a Green Arrow crossover? Like
Oh,
he
I
comes
hope so.
in?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
Well,
swell.
I didn't. Sabrina the Teenage Witch did not show up at all this season,
Oh,
so I'm
yeah.
hoping for
But
some.
Josie
I forgot
too.
that was a. Yeah,
Right.
Josie is
But
definitely
Josie's
in it.
in it. Yeah.
But Sabrina comes from that world. I
Right.
forgot about that.
The other
It would be
it-
sweet if it was Melissa Joan Hart is one of the
Yes, that'd be
parents.
amazing. The other great thing about this that is totally worth mentioning is that it does, it's definitely for a teen audience, and it's addressing these big issues that are current and
Like murder.
yeah, like murder, yeah, but also like just about like online harassment and like men talking to women in ways that they shouldn't.
And how much people love burgers.
Exactly, yeah, totally. So it's cool. It's like
So
it's
one
like-
of the Smurl podcast ladies really loves Jughead. Is he dreamy in this?
He is moody in this. He is not the goofball of the comics.
No,
He's-
not a
Because
goofball.
he
No.
gets all these sugar highs.
He's the hard-hitting noir like writer. It's really cool. It works.
It's good.
Does he have the hat?
That's totally
Kind of.
different.
Yes, I know, but it kind of works.
It's like the opposite character.
Everything anyone can tell you about this show will make you think, oh, this is going to be bad. You just have to watch it.
I trust
It's
you.
so good.
I trust you. I'm going for it.
One quick connection there. We had a meeting for a show pitch with the Frederator crew, and he was telling us about Adventure Time and Pendleton Ward, and he was saying that one time they were sitting there and Pendleton Ward was trying to describe the show to Frederator guy, to Fred, and he said, I see it like Archies, like they're all the Archie characters and how they interact with each other, and that's where his headspace was with.
Wow.
Pendleton did or
Pendleton
Fred
did.
did? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was a neat insight. But yeah, it's interesting that that's where it's sort of very much about character, and it's I like the Archie
Yeah, but
stuff.
we'll talk
Yeah.
about this because it's kind of like, hey, how do you get into describing how these characters work? Well, you use another thing.
Yeah,
You just compare it to a thing that already exists. Yeah.
Which reminds me of a future pick that we're about to discuss.
All right. So speaking of future picks, we're about to. Where can people watch Riverdale before we get off?
Oh,
of that?
on the CW streaming, we bought the season on Amazon. You can get it through Amazon.
Nice. All right.
If you're on Amazon Prime, will it already happen?
I don't think it's free with it. Yeah,
Hey.
I don't think it might be.
Oh, sorry.
No, it isn't.
It's not available yet for free.
I don't think so.
Great.
Hopefully it does come out soon on streaming.
Yeah.
So I don't have to steal it. Thanks,
No, if
Jeff.
it's good, we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
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 Definitely.
We always do.
Keith.
Yes.
You're coming.
Next
to our
week.
pick next week.
Okay, so our pick is Success, and next week I'm going to discuss the Successful movie about people who reach success very early in their lives. The Royal Tenenbaums, one of my all-time favorite movies. I consider it to be a Wes Anderson masterpiece. Certainly from that era, I consider it to be a masterpiece. Go ahead and watch it. It's streaming on like Turner Classic Movies right now. It's on. I think it's on It's on Netflix right now as well.
Oh, it's not. It's probably on Fandor or one of those.
Oh, it
or
was. It was on
Filmstruck.
Netflix.
It's got to be on Filmstruck because that's on Criterion, but it might be
Right.
on Netflix still.
Oh well, it certainly was as of a couple weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, check it out. It's wonderful. 2001, I believe it came out. Wes Anderson directed it. Amazing cast. As always, the music's wonderful. So go ahead and go out watch that, and we'll discuss it next week. And John Holt will tell me how come it's bad.
Well, yeah,
It's not currently on Netflix.
Snapples.
it's escaped Netflix. Mm-hmm. Cool, gang. We'll see you next week for
Yeah.
more successful podcasts.
That's right.
It may not be new. Maybe
it's new to you. Explosion sound.
But I gotta keep moving. This pitiful life is all about the music. 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 This pitiful life is all about the music.
With him together forever, without the limitation of time ever again. So the second coming of the Lord is not dead. They're two separate